Hey everyone, Becky from Week 99er here. I wanted to share with you another weekend DIY project that you can do. When we first got our house, it came with a 900 square foot patio behind it, and as you can see, while that big of a space is great for entertaining, it did come with some cracked concrete and some paint splats that came from previous owners or renters, and we're not quite sure. So thanks to Daich flooring, we were sent some of their Terrazzo Granite Resurfacing product, and I'm going to show you how we used that to completely change the look of this backspace and create our own oasis. Now we did have that built-in grill as well as a random electrical conduit that we had to remove first, but that was part of our prep work before we even got started. The other things that we had to do before we started was repair those cracks, tape off the side of the house, and power wash. And I will admit this was a lot of fun and probably should have been done a lot sooner. But it was something that we just kind of dealt with back there. But this is a key step to make sure that everything adheres properly. And as you can see, just that made a big difference. So the first thing you have to do with this terrazzo is put down the primer layer. And I'm not quite sure what happened with some of my footage, but I lost the first application. There are 2 coats of this primer that goes on to the surface that you are doing. I believe there has to be 6 hours between coats, and compared to when we did the basement project, this is a lot easier to do. I will say this project overall, while the scale of it is giant, I didn't have to worry about having to move everything around in the basement 2 or 3 times to make sure that I got everything done and staging it as I went. Instead, I kind of threw everything on the lawn, which probably drove the neighbors nuts, but it was only for a few days. So I got everything off the patio, and as long as I was able to get everything coated and end in the right place, I was able to go down the driveway to the front of the house. Now I will say, just the primer alone, this made a huge difference. You can already see it's one uniform color. The concrete is patched. We do have one area that is still raised slightly, but it is patched, so it should not, change over time. Everything is sealed in. I believe the terrazzo color that we chose for this project was the Silverado, which is a light gray. It has kind of flecks of blue and white and black stone pieces in it. What I do like about this, it is nice, bright, and light. I'm not quite sure why we landed on that color initially, but once you put everything together at the end, you can see that it actually brightens up this space quite a bit. Now, something that I really do like about this terrazzo product, compared to even the spread stone that we did in the basement, is it is only these 3 products. So there's 2 layers of the initial primer, 2 layers of the terrazzo, and then 2 layers of a anti-slip sealant that goes on top, which is actually fantastic, especially if you have a kind of painted surface or an epoxy type flooring. You don't want to slip and fall and being outside. The chances of this getting wet, especially this time of year when I'm watering the gardens daily, is going to be quite high. So I like that it is nice and easy to use, and it's only these 3 products. Now, one issue that I did have is because of the scale of our project, we got 5-gallon buckets of all the products. So I had to mix it with my power drill and an attachment, which is fine, but when it came to, like, we're on the terrazzo product here, some of the particulates at the bottom were a little harder to get to. So I'm glad I had the drill attachment, because there was no way that I would have been able to attach that or to get those particulates at the bottom by hand. But you can see putting on the terrazzo product is a little bit different than even the primer, and you can already see the difference in the color as you put it on. It has that kind of blue hint or gray kind of hint or tint to it. And it is not just painting it on like you did the primer or we did with the primer. Instead, you kind of pull it on to the surface and you push it into a nice uniform layer. This is different than any of the other products that I've done with Daich, but it goes on nice, and you can see how thick it is going on. Now, the only thing you have to pay super particular attention with on this is the particulates that are mixed in. It kind of looks like a slurry, almost like cookies and cream, ice cream. But as you're putting it down, you need to make sure that everything goes in the same amount. So you're terrazzo product on top and the flex have some consistency. Otherwise, if you have extra product or extra flex in there, you may have a higher concentration in one area. Now, if you're doing a terrazzo that's supposed to look like they did in the 20s in banks and things, you may not be worried about that as much. A more natural stone, you wouldn't have that kind of appearance either. But like you can see here, everything is kind of uniform. We do have a couple patches that things look a little less uniform, not as concerned about, but we do have 2 layers of this terrazzo that went on within, I want to say it was like 12 or 14 hours between. I will link to all of the information when it comes to the guidelines and hours and things that you're supposed to put between the different layers. But if you time things right, and I'm very lucky I did this early spring so the temperatures weren't too hot and not too cold, you can do this whole project in 3 days, which is fantastic if you want to change a space before a party, or you're looking to redo your garage and you want to make sure that everything is done and not everything is sitting out all weekend or all week while you are busy doing other things. So I like the consistency of the product. I liked how easy it was to go on. Then you have, after the terrazzo is fully set and cured, you have to put on 2 layers of that anti-slip kind of coating that they send you. And those come in small buckets. So those were easy to mix up. They came in just 1-gallon cans. And I want to say my whole patio took maybe 2 per coat. And as you can see, putting that on and sliding it on, I put it in a traditional paint tray and just coated very thickly. And it has a little bit of a grit to it if you walk around the patio barefoot, but you don't have a ton of, sharp pieces that feel really weird when you're walking on it. It doesn't feel like a stone surface like their spread stone product does, but it does seal it in. It protects it from the elements. This one, it does say that you're supposed to allow it to dry, I want to say 24 hours before parking on it, which is not an issue. We rarely park even on the part of the patio that is close to the driveway. But, if there's anything that was sitting on it, even like a week later, there were spots if it had, that hadn't fully cured, if water got underneath from rain. I did find, like I said, this kind of Goldilocks area and temperature and everything, that it wasn't raining early spring. And it was really nice that I could do this over a weekend. Now, it is still a lot of work and a lot of physical work, especially moving everything off the patio, but it was worth it, and it was a lot less strenuous than the basement and moving items when you're already living in a house. So, it's just a quick weekend project. It is something that you can do just with a roller, an extension pole, a few roller heads, obviously, and totally changed the look of the place. So just with that, you can see how thick the sealant is going on. It's almost like a really thick glue is texture-wise when you put it on, but it does make a difference already. You can see the reflection and all of that. But what I'm really excited to show you is the final product. So we've been living with this patio space with the new terrazzo surface on it for about 2 months. And when I started editing these photos and videos, it amazed even me, the difference from where we started to where we are now. So now we use the patio every day with, we have a patio lounger and a patio set. I have some of my garden, vertical gardens on there. We have a fully workable space. It is one uniform color. We do still, obviously, some of the joints, we still get some weeds that pop up here and there. But overall, it is a beautiful, beautiful space to just go out and relax and enjoy. So let me know if you have any questions about doing this to your own. So that's it for today, everyone. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be back with some other projects and some other fun products very soon.